In this slideshow, I'm going to introduce the concept of normative ethics. We're going to look at some examples of some normative ethical theories, and we're going to define a criterion of rightness. Among other things, normative ethics is the search for a criterion of moral rightness. A criterion of rightness is a condition that has two features. First, any action that satisfies that condition is a morally right action. And second, any morally right action is an action that has to satisfy that condition. So, a criterion of rightness is a condition that would properly fit in the blank in this sentence. An act is right if and only if blank. And we'll say that a normative ethical theory is the result of filling in this blank with such a condition. So one example is what I'll call the Golden Rule Theory of Right and Wrong, or GRT. And it goes like this. An act is morally right if and only if, in performing that act, the agent does not treat others in a way that she herself is unwilling to be treated. Different criteria of rightness lead to different normative ethical theories. So contrast the Golden Rule theory with the simple hedonic theory, or HT. According to the hedonic theory, an act is morally right just in case it makes more people happy than it makes unhappy. This is a way of capturing a very simple utilitarian style of moral reasoning. Do the act that produces the greatest happiness and fails to produce a lot of unhappiness. One difference between the Golden Rule theory and the hedonic theory is that while the hedonic theory focuses on the consequences of performing some action, that is, how happy will it make people, the Golden Rule theory instead focuses on the mental states of the person who's performing the action, that is, what would they be willing to have others do to them. This difference between the two theories we can capture in the following way. We'll say that the hedonic theory is an example of a consequentialist moral theory, while the Golden Rule theory is an example of a non-consequentialist moral theory. According to consequentialism, the moral status of an act is determined solely by the consequences of performing that act, while according to non-consequentialism, the moral status of an act is not determined solely by the consequences of performing that act. In order to bring out the difference between consequentialist and non-consequentialist moral theories, let's consider an example. Suppose that our class takes a field trip in which we go whale watching on a boat out in the middle of the ocean. While we're in the middle of the ocean, you happen to notice that there's a guy standing near the railing wearing a trench coat, and it looks like there's something under the trench coat. At some point during the voyage, he flings open the trench coat to reveal that he's got a bomb strapped to him. And he threatens to blow up the boat, sinking it and destroying everyone on board. It's at that time that you notice that suspended over his head is a big collection of oil drums, 50-gallon oil drums that are really heavy, and the oil drums are supported by a rope that's tied off right near where you're standing. If you just were to reach out and grab the end of the rope and pull on it, the knot would come loose and the oil drums would come crashing down on this guy, crushing him and preventing him from blowing up the boat. Now, it seems pretty clear that according to the hedonic theory, the morally right thing to do is to cut the rope. Drop the weight on the guy, crush him, and save everybody else. That's the action that would make more people happy. Sure, it might make the guy with the bomb pretty unhappy. He'd be crushed to death, but the rest of us would be pretty happy. It's not so clear exactly what the Golden Rule theory would say. Do you cut the rope or do you not cut the rope? It seems like if you cut the rope, you'd be treating the guy with the bomb in a way that you yourself would not want to be treated. You'd be crushing him to death. You perhaps would not want to be treated that way. But it also seems like in cutting the rope, you would be treating others in a way that you yourself would not want to be treated. That is, you would be allowing them to get blown up. The crucial thing to note here is that the hedonic theory delivers its verdict for a totally different kind of reason than the Golden Rule theory does. According to the hedonic theory, the right thing to do is the thing that produces the best consequences. That is, it makes the most people happy, the least number of people unhappy. According to the golden rule theory, however, the right thing to do is based not on the consequences of the action, but instead on the mental states of you, the agent. What would you be willing that others do to you in a similar circumstance? Now, you may not find either of these moral theories very plausible in this case, and that's okay, but what we want to illustrate here is that they are coming to their normative conclusions for dramatically different kinds of reasons. The hedonic theory is based on a consequentialist line of moral reasoning, whereas the golden rule theory is based on a non-consequentialist line of moral reasoning. So in conclusion, we observed that normative ethical theories are an attempt to provide a criterion of rightness, where a criterion of rightness is a condition such that any action that satisfies it is a morally right action, and every morally right action is an action that satisfies it. We considered the examples of the golden rule theory and the simple hedonic theory, and we observed that the golden rule theory is a non-consequentialist theory, and the hedonic theory is a consequentialist theory. So according to the golden rule theory, it's not the case that the consequences of an action determine its moral status, whereas according to the hedonic theory, it is the case that the consequences of an action determine its moral status. As an exercise to think through on your own, see if you can come up with other criteria of rightness that generate other normative ethical theories. And also see if you can come up with some possible actions where the golden rule theory and the simple hedonic theory might agree on what the right thing to do is, and some examples where they disagree on what the right thing to do is.